Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campia, and this is a companion video. What is a companion video? Well, I'm glad that you asked. You see, every day on the John Campia Show, when I do some open mics, we take live questions from the audience. But we don't always have time to get around to all of the live questions that get sent in. So I want to make sure those people who sent in those live questions get their questions answered on a video. So I gather up those unused questions and I address them here on a companion video. And this is the first companion video of 2019. Now, as a result, we're going to cover a bunch of questions today that actually got sent in prior to me taking off for my Christmas vacation. So a bunch of these questions are going to be a little bit dated, and that's cool, but a lot of them are still completely evergreen and timely and all that kind of stuff. So we got a bunch of stuff to get around to today, so let's get right to it. And the first question we're going to get caught up on today comes to us from TJ Thomas, who writes, I got to see Aquaman twice already, and we'll see it a third time tonight. I am excited. I've seen Aquaman now 3 times. I saw it once at an early screening, once at an early press event, then once at an advance screening that they did for nationwide. They did that 1-week advance screening. And then I saw it again in Canada. I took my mom and my sisters and my brother and Anne and my brother-in-law, took them all out to go see Aquaman. Had a good time. I'm glad you're going to get a chance to see it again. All right, next one. Mad Real Cinema writes, I think the "this is going to work" scene in the Endgame trailer is Captain America talking about time traveling, because why look at a picture of Peggy before saving Tony? And Winter Soldier outfit is for time period he's going to. Well, first of all, I don't believe for a second that in that Endgame trailer that looking at a picture of Peggy has anything to do with the scene of him saying to Widow, I know it's going to work. I don't think that's from the same scene at all. I think that's taken very much out of context. I wouldn't even be surprised if that's a shot from another movie, to be honest with you. So I don't think it has anything to do with it. Now look, the prevailing theory, the theory everybody has, is that Endgame is going to involve time travel. That's what everybody is assuming. And it very well could be. I mean, that's the likelihood. But I'm not 100% sold on that. I'm not 100% sold on that. And and again, I don't think he said, I don't think at all in that scene, this is going to work. I know it will, because I don't know what I'm going to do if I'm not. Look at a picture of Peggy. I really, really doubt. It's possible. It's possible. Don't misquote me. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I really don't think that those things are in the same scene at all. So I don't think that has anything to do with anything, really. Dervunderbar writes, I recommend A Dog Year with Jeff Bridges. I like that movie if it's the movie I'm thinking about. Hold on a second. If it's the same movie I'm thinking about, it may not be the same year. Oh, this one's from 2009. Oh, no, this is not the movie I was thinking about. This is why I double check these things. This is not the movie I was thinking about. A Dog Year. You know what? I never even heard of this film. A guy suffering from a midlife crisis takes in a dog that's crazier than he is. Got Jeff Bridges, Laurie Smith. I like Laurie Smith, actually. Elizabeth Marvel, Pamela Stewart. I'll be honest, I've never even heard of it. So thank you for putting that on my radar, Wunderbar. I may have to check that out. Ed Matthews writes, if Apple purchases Sony, what happens to the Venom franchise and other Spider-Man character rights? Fingers crossed for Tom Holland extending his contract after a 6-picture deal is over. Well, 2 things to keep in mind here. Number 1, that was a false story. That wasn't a real story. Apple buying Sony. I know, but John, I saw all the headlines. Yeah, where all those headlines came from an article in Variety, where Variety was just making wild predictions. It was an article that specifically said, just our wild predictions for 2019. And one of their predictions for 2019, Apple to buy Sony. The problem is, so many people just heard Apple buying Sony. What? And never bothered to read the details. Oh, that's not actually news. That's just somebody making a wild speculative guess for 2019 in an article making a bunch of wild speculative guesses for 2019. And then a bunch of people ran with it as headlines. And then a bunch of people just thought, oh, Apple is trying to buy Sony. That was never a story, so that's not a real thing. Second, we've talked about this before, but if Apple were to buy, theoretically speaking, if in theory Apple were to buy Sony, nothing would happen to the rights for Spider-Man if Apple bought Sony in its entirety and kept the company intact, because the contract Sony has with Marvel is with Sony, the company. Doesn't matter if somebody else owns Sony. Sony, the company, is still an entity. They're still intact. The deal is still enforceable. If, however, they changed ownership groups and they dismantled the company and it ceased to exist as Sony and it was just swallowed up by Apple, that changes things. Because Marvel doesn't have a contract with Apple. They have a contract with Sony. So theoretically speaking, as long as Sony is intact and in place, the deal is still good. Here's a good example of something like this. And by the way, there are always exceptions, but here's a good example of that. Tom Brady is the quarterback for the New England Patriots. Tom Brady has a contract with the New England Patriots. Now, the New England Patriots are owned by a guy named Robert Kraft. If Robert Kraft were to sell the New England Patriots to somebody else, Tom Brady's contract with the New England Patriots is still valid because the New England Patriots are still a valid functioning entity. And the contracts, any contracts they have with anybody are still good. Just because somebody else owns the New England Patriots now doesn't change anything. Now, again, as in everything in life, there are exceptions, but that generally is the approach. So theoretically speaking, even if Marvel or Apple was trying to buy a Sony, which it's not, that's not a real story, then theoretically speaking, if they were to keep Sony intact, then all the contracts stay completely valid. The only time they don't is if Apple bought Sony and dismantled Sony or absorbed Sony into Apple, anything like that where Sony as an entity ceases to be what it is, then any contracts become null and void. Otherwise, they stay in place. Again, there are exceptions, and that's a generalization, but it is the general way of that, the way that kind of stuff works. All right, Run Amok Design writes, hold the phone. Didn't Stephen Amell post a pic of a meeting with the Smallville cast? Think they may be working on bringing them in for Crisis next year. No. I speculated, and I didn't know, I was just speculating, wild guessing, but I speculated when Stephen Amell put out that picture of Tom Welling and Michael, I forgot the name of the guy who played Lex Luthor, Michael Rosenbaum, I think that's, at any rate. He took a picture of them in Stephen Amell's offices of his wine company. And then it later came out, that they're entering into a partnership with them for the wine company. Had nothing to do with the CW universe or Smallville or Arrow or anything like that. Too bad, though. That could have been kind of fun. All right. Sebastian Churillo writes, did you review Aquaman? I did. When you did, you were embargoed. Nope, I never released any review under embargo. Never did, never will. Sean McKnight writes, what do you think are the best animated films? Here are some of mine: Spiderverse, Nightmare Before, Iron Giant, Treasure Planet, Toy Story 2, Big Hero 6. Those are all some nice picks. I'm not going to sit here and go into a full list of my all-time greatest animated films. The greatest animated movie of all time is Lion King, in my opinion. And I remember we did a March Movie Madness tournament, and we did best animated films, and you guys voted that Lion King was the best animated film of all time. As far as there's lots of animated films I love. I can't just sit here and rifle off the top ones. I love tons, but my absolute favorite all time is Lion King. That one to me is the king of all animated films. Let's see. Paul M. writes, I love Gladiator, so I thought Hunger Games would be enjoyable. What does Gladiator have to do with Hunger Games? Time out just for a second. I'm just trying to wrap my head around what on earth remotely looked like Gladiator had anything to do with Hunger Games. I'm just froze on that a little second. What is it about Hunger Games that makes you think if I like Gladiator, I would like Hunger Games? That's kind of like saying, if you like Three Stooges, you'll love Schindler's List. Like, what? What does one have to do with the... I'm a little unclear about what one has to do with the other there, Paul. The second the game started, I discovered that killing children crossed a line for me. Are there any situations in movies you won't watch? No, if it's used the right way. Like, in Hunger Games, children killing other people, children killing children, whatever, that has a narrative purpose. The narrative purpose is to illustrate the horror of what it is they're living in. It wasn't just gratuitous, let's just show a child killing. It wasn't like that. There was a narrative purpose to it. I would say that, hey, look, we should all have a problem with any killing in any movie, or abuse or anything like that. So I don't know. To me, it's about the narrative. Is it gratuitous? in the sense that serves no narrative purpose. Let's just show it for the hell of it. That's gratuitous. Yeah, I would have a problem with the gratuitous stuff like that. But if it's part of the narrative and it serves a function for the audience to make you feel the horror of what that environment is, then I'm okay with that. I'll be uncomfortable, but the point is to make me uncomfortable, right? The point of them doing that is to make me feel uneasy and uncomfortable and be disgusted with the world that they set up. That's the point. So now, there are things I find harder to watch than anything else. Rape is, I don't have a problem with filmmakers using a horrific, violent thing like rape in a movie if it serves a narrative purpose and there's a point to it. But just because I don't have a problem with them using that as a tool to tell their story, if that is important to their story, even though I'm okay with them doing that, I can't watch it. I'm not saying I can't watch the movie, but I can't watch, I'll have to close my eyes and turn my head away. That's just me, though. I don't have an ethical problem with them using that as a story device if it's for a narrative purpose and meant to put the audience member in a certain place emotionally, but I can't watch it. So that's something for me. That's something for me at any rate. Interesting question, Paul. Thanks for bringing that up. Although, again, I do not see the connection between Hunger Games and Gladiator. You got me there a little bit. All right. Steve Young, probably not the 49ers quarterback, but hey, John and Rob. Well, Rob's not here. I hope you are well. Warhammer are releasing an animated series called Angels of Death. I think I heard about that, about the Blood Angel Space Marines. What do you think? Well, I mean, I used to play Warhammer a bit. Me and my buddy Rodney. Rodney was the one who got into Warhammer, so he introduced me to Warhammer. I used to go down to his place. He had this big table set up with all the buildings and everything. It was quite a lot of fun. Now, I haven't played it in a long time. We had a good time with that. I haven't played it in years, so I haven't played Warhammer in years. But anyway, what do I think? Think the same thing I think about anything. Could be good, could be awful. No idea which one it'll be. It could be okay, could be fantastic, could be abysmal, could be a dumpster fire. No idea. I'm totally okay with them trying to make a movie out of anything because you can make anything good. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with. Again, I'm not expecting much. Animated stuff made for TV usually is complete and utter shit, in my opinion. Usually, not always. There are exceptions. But yeah, so I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, I suppose. It's nice, though, that Warhammer is still around. That's nice to see. All right, Stubble McShave writes, I have a soft spot for Jeff Bridges and Tucker. I like him in Tucker, too. But it's funny. I was really young, but I remember watching an animated film called The Last Unicorn. Whenever I think of Jeff Bridges, I don't know why. I don't think The Big Lebowski. I don't think True Grit. I don't think of Crazy Heart, which he finally won his Academy Award for. I don't think of all these amazing, iconic movies. For some reason, I just go back to The Last Unicorn because he did the voice in The Last Unicorn. I don't know why, but that's where my mind goes when I think of him. Sunny Mia writes, is 2019 the year of Tom Holland? I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. Like, he's got one big movie that he is legitimately the star of, and that's Spider-Man Far From Home. Yeah, I'm still getting over a little bit of a cough. Forgive me if I have to clear my throat a bunch through the show. My apologies. Now, he's supposed to have this other one called Chaos something or other. Chaos Hill. It's a movie being directed by Doug Liman, and he stars in with Daisy Ridley, who is, of course, Rey in the Star Wars movies. And it's supposed to come out in February, I think, and there still hasn't been a trailer for it. I'm starting to have my suspicions that this movie is getting bumped. So I don't even know if that movie is going to come out this year. Then, of course, he's going to be in, we're all assuming, Avengers Endgame, but it's probably going to be a relatively small thing. Like, I'm not saying he's only going to be in one scene, but he's not going to be one of the major stars of that. I mean, clearly it's going to be Robert Downey Jr., it's going to be Chris Evans, it's going to be Black Widow, it's going to be Thor. I think that's what they're going to focus on for most of the movie. I mean, we might not even see Spider-Man until halfway through the movie. So I really wouldn't qualify that as his movie. So right now, I'm going to say no. I don't think 2019 is the year of Tom Holland, but he certainly can have a good year. He's certainly set up to have a pretty good year. All right. Brand Sheehan writes, "Hey guys, what are the odds the CW Crisis uses the famous Clark holding Kara poster, but the roles are reversed with Kara holding Clark? Thanks." I'm not even sure I know the poster you're talking about. And I'm just over talking about anything CW Supergirl. I'm just over it. That show can go to hell as far as I'm concerned. Geeky Galore writes, Shazam had scheduled 5 days of reshoots, but WB added 24 more days of additional shooting, making it a $150 million budget. Warner Brothers is really championing their movies. You know, it's funny, Geeky Galore. It's all about perspective, right? If you are a fan of Warner Brothers and a fan of the DC movies, you hear about all this additional shooting and reshoots, and you go, wow, Warner Brothers is really on board with this movie. Somebody who's not a DC fan looks at this exact same situation and go, oh, wow, that movie must be a mess. That movie must be a mess if they're having to do all that additional stuff. Wow, it must really be in trouble. It all depends on your perspective and your point of view. Now, I've been trying to tell people for a couple of years now, don't be thrown off by, words of reshoots and things like that. All big major movies now plan to have reshoots well in advance. They all do it. Reshoots means nothing bad. It doesn't necessarily mean anything good, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything bad. But still, everybody comes with a point of view and a perspective. And if you are somebody who's really into the DCEU, you hear 24 extra days of shooting, 5 extra days of reshooting, budget has to go up, blah, blah, and you go, wow, that must really mean Warner Brothers is on board with this movie. Whereas other people will look at it and go, wow, that movie must be in a terrible mess right now for them to have to go back and do all that. It all depends on your point of view. Me, I don't think it's good or bad. I don't think it's good or bad. I think, hey, it's a big movie coming, and I'm looking forward to Shazam, by the way. I can't wait. I think it's going to be good. But they're going to do reshoots. Maybe they had another idea for something, so they plan a little bit of additional photography. I think it is amoral. I don't think it's either evil. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's a good sign. I don't think it's a bad sign. I just think it's the movie. And this is part of making the movie, so I don't see it either way, really. But that's just the way I kind of look at it right now. All right. C. Stacks writes, for my wife and I's anniversary, we're seeing Aquaman, Bumblebee, and Spiderverse all in one. Isn't it crazy that all 3 of those movies are in theater right now? And they're all good. Some better than others, but they're all good. Seeing Aquaman, Bumblebee, and Spiderverse all in one day should be a good time. I think that is a really good triple feature, man. That's a really good triple feature for movies that are all in theater right now. Now, obviously, I think the best in order are Spider-Verse is the best one that's out there. Bumblebee is the next best, and then Aquaman. But all 3 of them, good movies. All 3 of them, a good time. All 3 of them, totally worth seeing. Hope you had a great time when you guys went to go see that C-Stacks. All right. John Michael Lozada writes, does Spider-Verse beat A Quiet Place for you? No, Spider-Verse, I did my top 10 of the year when I was in Canada. Spider-Verse, for me, is my number 3 best movie of the year. And I didn't even think that movie was going to be any good when they first announced it. So nice, pleasant surprise. Spider-Verse ended up being my number 3 movie of the year, but no, did not beat A Quiet Place. Quiet Place ended as my number 1 best film of the year. I still think that, I watched it again over my Christmas vacation. Love that movie. I think that is a master movie, just a masterpiece of a movie. I dig it. I adore it. My top 5 was, number 1 was Quiet Place. Number 2 was Black Klansman. Number 3, Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse. Number 4, Green Book. Number 5, A Star is Born. So that's my top 5 movies for 2018. Marie Seifring writes, I recently rewatched the movie Sully. Oh, nice movie. Aaron Eckhart played the co-pilot. Did Aaron kind of disappear after The Dark Knight? Thanks. He kind of did, but he did get a bit of a push. Like after Dark Knight, remember that there was that alien invasion, I think Battle Los Angeles? He was the star of that. And that movie tanked and sucked. That movie both tanked and sucked, which is not a good combination of things to have. So he did Rabbit Hole. I liked Rabbit Hole. That was the one he did with Nicole Kidman. That's a nice little movie. I actually went in and interviewed both of those guys for that. So Rabbit Hole was a really nice one. But then he did Battle Los Angeles. which was a total disaster of a movie. It was awful, and that hurt him. Then he did The Rum Diary with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. That movie was terrible. That didn't help him. Then he did Olympus Has Fallen, which I liked, but a lot of people trashed on it. I thought it was pretty good. Then he did Erased with, what's her name? Olga Kurylenko, who was the runner-up to play Wonder Woman behind Gal Gadot, by the way. Didn't really do much. Then he did I, Frankenstein, which was crappy, and everybody hated that. And after that, that kind of killed any momentum that his career really had going, because it wasn't like it was just The Dark Knight. Like, he did one of my favorite movies of the past, 20 years or so. He did Thank You for Smoking, which was directed by the same guy who directed Up in the Air and Juno. Why am I freezing on his name? Jason Reitman. Jason Reitman directed Thank You for Smoking. He starred in that, which was before The Dark Knight. I'm pretty sure it was. And he was fabulous in that. Yeah, that was 2005. Thank You for Smoking. So he was already, he starred in that movie, The Core, which I thought was a guilty pleasure, little disaster. It was pretty bad, but for me, it's a little bit of a guilty pleasure. He was, of course, in Aaron Brockovich, Any Given Sunday. So even before The Dark Knight, he was a bit of a role, but then a big streak of really horrible, bad films. And that kind of killed any momentum his career had as a leading man. And which sucks. I like to see him get back to that status personally. All right, Robert DeHera writes, Infinity War recap narrated by Luis Michael Pena. Everybody's been saying that for ever since the first Ant-Man came out. When a new MCU movie comes out, do an MCU recap narrated by Luis. I would watch 2 hours of that shit, man. I would watch 2 hours of that. Adam K writes, you see Teen Titans Go to the movies. I liked it. You know what? I never did, because I thought it looked like crap. But Anne really wanted to see it. And I heard from a number of my friends that they liked it too. So, and my wife Anne kept saying she wanted to watch it. Okay. So we're on our flight going to Toronto from Los Angeles, this back a couple weeks ago. And one of the in-flight movies available to us, because we're on Air Canada, so they give you a list of about 25 recent released movies that you can watch. And one of the options was Teen Titans Goes to the Movies. So I'm like, hey, do you want to watch this one together? She goes, oh, I got tired of waiting for you to watch it, and I watched it. I didn't like it. So that killed any enthusiasm I had. So while I've heard a lot of people like it, I finally heard from Anne that she didn't like it, and I already wasn't all that interested. So no, I haven't watched it. And I probably won't waste my time watching it. Again, I'm not saying it's bad because I haven't seen it. You saw it, you liked it, great. But it looked terrible to me, and my wife saw it, and I really like her taste in movies, and she didn't like it. So I'm not going to bother my time with it. But that's not to take away your enjoyment of it, my friend. All right. Geeky Galore writes, shout outs to my girlfriend Amanda for letting me drag her to all these nerdy ass movies. Can we do a double feature of Aquaman and Bumblebee on Saturday, honey? Listen, you found a great partner. When you have somebody who likes you enough that even if there's things that they don't like to do, but they know they're important to you, they'll come along and participate. That's pretty damn cool. For us guys, that means when we've got these wives or girlfriends or whatever other partners, whatever, your particular preference is, who will go, they'll indulge our nerdy tendencies. That's awesome. But don't forget to make sure that door swings both ways. And I'm just saying, for an example, like if she's really, and I know this is stereotypical, but I'm just using it as a hyperbole an example. If your girl's totally into Twilight movies, then the next time she says, let's stay in tonight and watch, the Twilight series, you remember that she went along to your stuff. So you make sure you go both ways on that. You make sure the door swings both ways. You sit in and you watch Twilight with her. That's important. That's important. That's good relationship advice right there, Geeky Galore. All right. Lee Mallinson writes, think you're letting Spider-Man off the hook Big Hero 6 made $50 million, beating Interstellar. Spider-Man had a bomb in Mortal Engines and no recent releases. What's your point, Lee? What's your point? First of all, Spider-Man, the people who make Spider-Man have nothing to do with how many people go out to watch it. By the way, and I love Big Hero 6. Everybody knows I like Big Hero 6 a lot. Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse is a better movie than Big Hero 6. But they're completely different things. Look, Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse, it was facing a set of circumstances that Big Hero 6 never had to face. It's a Spider-Man movie who is not Peter Parker while there are live-action Spider-Man films being made. That is a total uphill climb to get people, and superhero animated film that traditionally people don't go see. And Big Hero 6 does not fall in that category. Big Hero 6 is not a comic book movie. Now you can say, well, there was a comic book group called, yeah, this is a totally different thing though. This was really more of a Pixar thing than anything else. And I'm not even sure if it was Pixar. It might have been Disney Animation, but whatever. They were all run by John Lasseter at the time. This was a John Lasseter overseen animated film that was really a standalone thing. This was a Spider-Man movie in an animated form with somebody as Spider-Man that nobody had ever heard of, while there's live action Spider-Man movies happening in the theaters today. With Homecoming, Far From Home, he's in the Avengers, he's in Civil War, blah, blah, and now that's something that a Big Hero 6 never had to face. It's a totally different set of circumstances. To try to compare them again is folly. It's like trying to compare the results of the Three Stooges with Schindler's List. It's a night and day different type of situation. But, okay, so it beat Interstellar. Big deal. Interstellar wasn't a big crowd pleaser, get $100 million worth of people out to the movie theaters. It had nothing to do with it. So you're letting Spider-Man off the hook for what? The movie's broken even. It's actually going to be profitable at the end of the day. It's one of the best movies of the year. It's better than Big Hero 6. And I love Big Hero 6. Go Baymax. But I honestly don't know what you're talking about when you say letting it off the hook. I thought this movie, when they first talked about it, I thought Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse would end up being a complete flop. The fact that it's able to make nearly $300 million under the circumstances which I already described, to me is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. It's so again, it's not an apples to apples comparison, Lee. So I don't think there's a lot of sense to what it is you're trying to set up there. That's just my thought, though. All right, the Maz writes, Infinity War Endgame Theory. Stark does the goodbye we saw in the trailer, but then decides to live and does an Iron Man 1-esque rescue of himself. Nope, impossible. They already kind of set it up that he's tried everything already. He's tried everything already. And by the way, as smart as we like to think Tony Stark is, he's still just a human being from Earth in something that is completely alien technology. He's obviously been out there for a while. He said several days ago, the food ran out. The water ran out. Tomorrow, the air is going to run out. He's tried everything already. He has tried to save himself. Now, I don't think it's impossible that what you're suggesting happens. I wouldn't bet $100 against it. I'm just kind of saying that I think it's highly unlikely because I think they're kind of proposing he's tried everything. Now he's just adrift and he's out of options. He's already run out of food. He's run out of water. He's about to run out of air. And he's tried it all. There's nothing left to do. And he's in an alien ship filled with alien technology that he doesn't understand. Doesn't matter how smart of a human being is. And by the way, he's not even the smartest person in the MCU. Sure, he is the smartest person in the MCU. Kevin Feige's already said that. So it's possible. But what I think the trailer set up is that he already tried that, didn't work, and he's run out of options, and now he has to be saved. At least that's what I'm thinking. We'll see what happens when the movie actually comes out. All right. Motorola writes, my son was supposed to make his debut on the Day of Reckoning, aka December 21st, the day with 40 things coming out, but he's here now, a week old. His name is Luke Emmanuel Moto. Well, congratulations, Motorola, on the birth of your son. That's awesome. You know, I remember you writing in and saying, I think that this is like in November or something, writing in and saying, My son's due date is December 21st and all this stuff. But, so apparently he's a little bit late to the party. Always good to be a little bit fashionably late. That's cool. Again, man, seriously, congratulations. That's awesome. And I love the name, Luke Emmanuel Moda. Very cool name. Well done to you and your partner, my friend. All right. Aviator 986 writes, hey guys, missed the show last week. My father unfortunately passed away at 63 last Monday. That's horrible, man. Watching the show truly helped me out and just want to say thank you for all you guys are doing. Life is just too short, isn't it? Damn right, life is just too short. Damn right, life is just too short. Which is part of the reason I don't understand why people use what little time they have in this world to be toxic little Neanderthalic trolls. It's like, really? You only got a finite amount of time and that's what you want to spend your time doing? Whatever. I guess being a loser is trendy. But again, man, deepest condolences to you and your family. That's horrible, but I'm really glad the film fan community can be here for you to give you a little bit of an oasis from dealing with a lot of stuff. And again, just the deepest well wishes to you and your family, man. And I'm really, really sorry to hear about your loss. But thank you for sharing that, man. That's deep, man. That takes a lot of guts to share that publicly. So thank you for that. All right. Pedro Quiroz, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce that. Hey, John, love your work. Thank you so much, Pedro. I found it weird Gwen got sent to Miles' world before Peter Parker got held in the beam by Green Goblin. I feel like that's when the Spider-Man got pulled into Miles' world. Am I wrong? You're wrong. Because I'm a loser, I've gone and seen Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse like 3 times in theaters. So you may have missed this the first time. Gwen Stacy specifically says, first of all, let's back up a bit. When each one of the new Spider-Men appear in Miles' world, they all appear in the same place. But you notice none of the other Spider-Men were around? That means they arrived at a different time. So this interdimensional thing clearly also kind of moves with time a little bit. Because even though they all got put in Miles' world, all in Miles' version of Times Square, none of the other Spider-Men are there. To Gwen Stacy specifically, in the movie, she says, I lost my friend Pete, my best friend Peter, blah, blah, blah. And then this weird thing happened and I got knocked into last week. Literally, she says. So she specifically says, I got knocked a week into the past in this new dimension. Hence, she was there. Her spider senses led her to that school where she eventually met Pedro's asking the question, where she eventually met Miles. And then the rest of the story unfolds. So it dropped each of the Spider-Men into a little different pocket of time. Gwen, an entire week earlier, and they specify that in the movie. But I can totally understand why you're asking the question, Pedro. Totally see that. All right. Ryan Trabuco writes, where are we? Oh, yeah. Ryan writes, I feel like Black Panther and Spider-Verse should get their due. The more times I see Black Panther, the more I recognize the craft, production design, other little details. Spider-Verse is just amazing. Yeah, Spider-Verse to me is an infinitely better movie than Black Panther. And look, go back and watch my review. I loved Black Panther. I love Black Panther. Great costume design. Other than the really bad Killmonger versus T'Challa CGI fight as they're falling down the cavern. Other than that, there's some magnificent visual effects in that movie. Solid story, very important film. I don't think it deserves to be nominated for Best Picture of the Year. It's not even the best comic book movie of the year. It's not even the second best comic book movie of the year. Black Panther, at best, is the third best comic book movie of the year. I brought this up the other day. I took a poll on my Twitter, just a cold poll on my Twitter. And I asked people, what was the best comic book movie of the year so far? Now, this was before Aquaman and Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse came out, okay? So you were dealing with Deadpool 2. You were dealing with Avengers Infinity War. You were dealing with Ant-Man and the Wasp. You were dealing with Venom. I think there was another one in there too. But anyway, 81% of people said the best comic book movie of the year is, and again, this was before Aquaman or Spider-Verse, but at the time they said 81% said Avengers Infinity War is the best comic book movie of the year. Only 13% said Black Panther. Only 13%. And it's not like I only had 12 people respond. Like I had over 11,000 people vote on that poll. Now, I think Black Panther and Infinity War are relatively close. I give the slight edge to Infinity War. I think there might have been a time where I might have given a slight edge to Black Panther, but I've watched them both multiple times since, and now I think Infinity War is a little bit better than Black Panther. Obviously, the vast majority of people agree with me. Black Panther's not even the third best comic book movie of the year. So to this day, while I really like it, and by the way, I don't think Infinity War deserves a Best Picture nomination either. I don't. I think it's great. I loved it, but I don't think it's one of the top 5. And I certainly believe it would deserve a spot above Black Panther. And I certainly believe that Spiderverse belongs above both of them. I think Spider-Man and the Spiderverse is the best comic book, not Thanos, not T'Challa, Miles Morales. I think Miles Morales should get the nod. But whatever, that's just me. That's the beautiful thing about movies, man. We all watch movies and we all have different takes and different opinions of them. And yours is no less valid than mine. So thanks for sharing yours, man. All right. Lee Mallinson writes, 6 out of the 10 of the best visual effects nominees are Disney. Fishy. It's not fishy at all. Disney does all the biggest visual effects movies. They just do. And they're all the best visual effects movies. They have the best visual effects. There's the only time that could be fishy is if you look at a movie and say, that movie was completely made up of terrible CGI. Now, a lot of people will then want to point at Black Panther. But again, Black Panther has a terrible scene of visual effects. There are some visual effects in Black Panther that are absolutely mind-blowing. Couple of really bad scenes of visual effects, but some shots that are revolutionary and absolutely mind-blowing. The car chase scene after they leave the casino, when he's chasing after Andy Serkis, the visual effects in that scene, just as somebody who worked in the visual effects industry, my jaw was on the floor in that. So no, there's nothing fishy about it. When they're the best ones, they get nominated. If anything, I think it's fishy that 4 out of 10 of them weren't Disney films. To me, that's a little bit fishy. Anyway, let's see. Demetrios Dinda writes, one of my favorite Nick Cage films is Gone in 60 Seconds. Yeah, I like that film too. I love the cast. What's your favorite Nick Cage film? Honestly, The Rock. The Rock is my favorite Nick Cage film. Your best. Losers whine about their best while winners go home and fuck the prom queen. Sean Connery, ladies and gentlemen. I love The Rock. Unapologetically, 100%, completely love The Rock. I love that movie. Now, there are a bunch of Nick Cage movies I really dig, but Gone 60 Seconds is one I quite enjoy too. But to me, The Rock. Face Off is another amazing one with him and John Travolta. Love that movie as well. But yeah, I'm going to stick with The Rock on that. All right, let's see here. Ryan Trabuco writes, Disney wins. Disney always wins. Love the show, John and Rob. Hope you all have a great holiday season. Well, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. And, you know, we have started things off again. Me and Rob have done 2 shows of the John Campea Show already this week. Obviously, still got to do Wednesday and Thursday. Friday, I'll be here in the home studio. Having a good one so far. Thank you for the well wishes. I hope you had a great holiday season as well, my friend. All right. Demetrios Donata follows up and writes, girlfriend just got me A-List. Oh, nice Christmas gift. Yeah, just a bit lucky, I guess. Off to see Aquaman. Dude, A-List is the greatest thing I think that's ever happened to film fans. Yeah, there was that short while when Movie Pass was a pretty good deal, but you can never book your tickets in advance. You can never pre-select your seats. You could never go into the Prime theaters. You can never go into the 3D theaters. You never go into the IMAX theaters. AMC A-List, you get it all. It is the greatest thing that's ever happened for film fans. It is a great gift. Give your girlfriend an extra long hug, man, because that's a really nice gift. All right, Beast Gaming writes, Khabib versus GSP, who wins? I've had a lot of people ask me this question. Look, I think George St. Pierre is the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. I think he's better than Anderson Silva. I think he's better than John Bones Jones. I think he's better than All of them. I think he's the greatest, most dominant champion there's ever been. That being said, George St. Pierre is also about 40, or at least he's pushing 40. And right now, Khabib is absolutely in his prime. Khabib is the baddest man on the planet. And I don't care what weight class. I think you put any UFC fighter in the ring with Khabib, he'll choke him out. He will choke him out. The dude wrestled bears as a child. That's not being exaggerating. Go look it up. His dad used to make him wrestle bears. Anyway, GSP when he was 31 versus Khabib, very interesting fight. Khabib versus GSP today, Khabib will destroy him. Khabib would destroy him today. Today, Khabib would absolutely destroy him, so that's what I'm going to go with. All right, Aaron Gell writes, a live-action Gundam movie is coming by Legendary. Well, maybe. Look, the reality is this. I have heard reports, legitimate reports, by the way, of Macross, Gundam, on and on. All of these giant robot movie things. Like, there was even a time when, the guy who played Spider-Man. Why am I drawing a blank on? Why am I freezing on Spider-Man's name? Oh my gosh. No, not Andrew Garfield. Like the first Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire. Why did I freeze on Tobey Maguire's name? Anyway. There was a time that Tobey Maguire was supposed to produce and star in one of those movies. But that was like 11 years ago, 12 years ago that those reports came out. What happened? Nothing. Then about 5 years ago, we had all this talk about Gundam. What happened? Nothing. Now, Legendary. Great production company, by the way. They're saying, we've secured the rights and we're going to do a Gundam movie. Okay, that's great. But, you're going to have to forgive me that I'm just kind of a little bit in a I'll believe it when I see it kind of frame of mind when it comes to that stuff, because it's just been burned by that stuff way too many times. So we'll see. We'll see. I hope it happens. All right. Jub Allura writes, hello, John and Robert. Hope everything is good with you. Rewatched The Disaster Artist. Oh, fun movie the other day. Such a fun and rewatchable movie. Your thoughts? Love that movie. It's one of those things you don't even have to have watched The Room, the movie that The Disaster Artist makes fun of. You don't even have to see The Room or have ever seen it to appreciate just how great The Disaster. It's a magnificent film. And my friend Erin Cummings, who I did a couple of interviews with here in my studio, my friend Erin Cummings, she's in that movie. Funny story. I didn't even know Erin was in that movie. Ann and I go to see The Disaster Artist, and all of a sudden she comes on screen talking to the character. I'm like, I turned to Ann, I was like, is that Erin? And she goes, yeah, did you know she was in this? I'm like, I had no idea. As soon as I get out of that, like I call Erin, you never told me you were in The Disaster Artist? Anyway. I love that movie. I think it's a lot of fun. And now you've reminded me, I got to watch it again because I haven't seen that movie since it was in theaters. So I need to watch that again. All right. Adam Gibson writes, The Proposition is a great Christmas movie. Well, a bunch of it happens at Christmas. But then again, that is the same logic that people use for Die Hard. Die Hard, make no mistake, is not a Christmas movie. Just tune out anybody that's trying to tell you it's a Christmas movie. It's not a Christmas movie. It happens at Christmas time, but nothing about that movie has anything to do with Christmas. Christmas is the context they're in, but Christmas or the meaning of Christmas or anything about Christmas has nothing to do with the themes or the narrative of the story. It's not a Christmas movie. But I guess by that logic, Adam, I can see where you're going with that. Palm Tree City 1 writes, John, we still have local drive-in and have not been there since 1997. Had a blast this past weekend. Your thoughts? I love drive-ins. I think drive-ins are a hoot. Now, I haven't been to one since I left Canada. We had one in Canada not too far from where I live called the Starlight Drive-In. I don't even know if it's still there because that's going back about 8 or 9 years. But I used to love going to the drive-in, man. Loved it. It's cost prohibitive. You need a huge chunk of land that's kind of relatively in the middle of nothing. It's a very difficult thing to do. And I can understand why they're disappearing and have almost completely disappeared. but I will remember them fondly. I used to love drive-ins, man. Totally did. All right. Nathan Oswald writes, want an inspiring baseball movie? Watch Moneyball. Okay, first of all, Nathan, I like Moneyball a lot. But to me, that movie's not even a baseball movie. That is a business of baseball movie. You know, Bull Durham is a baseball movie. Major League is a baseball movie. A League of Their Own is a baseball movie. Moneyball, and I really like Moneyball. Moneyball really isn't a baseball movie. It's a movie about the business of baseball, really more than anything else. And maybe maybe I'm splitting hairs there. Maybe that's just semantics. Maybe. But yeah, when I think of Moneyball, I don't think of it as a baseball movie per se. It's more of a business movie. The business just happens to be baseball, but it really is not much about the sport. So, totally agree with you. I really like Moneyball a lot. I think it's a really solid movie, but I just personally don't think of it as a baseball movie. Maybe that's weird. Robby Rocket, like that name. Robby Rocket writes, ever since I saw Age of Ultron, I've wanted to see Captain America wield Mjolnir, but I guess there's no chance of that happening now, right? Yeah, I guess not. That was a great scene in Age of Ultron. That party scene, and then everybody takes a shot trying to lift the hammer, and Captain America grabs it and actually nudges it a little bit. Fabulous scene. And I'm with you, Robbie. I've always wanted to see Cap hold that hammer, but if we can't see Cap hold it, we can't see Mr. Rogers, because Mr. Rogers, have you guys seen that meme? Mr. Rogers holding Mjolnir and goes, excuse me, young man, is this yours? Saying, like talking to Thor. Because Mr. Rogers would be able to lift. He's worthy. He would have been able to lift Mjolnir. Anyway. Well, yeah, since Mjolnir's been destroyed, I guess little to no chance. If the prevailing theory that Endgame will involve time travel, that seems to be what everybody's guessing. If that happens, there's a possibility Mjolnir comes back, right? So, don't throw away all hope just yet, Robbie. Maybe there's still a possibility. We'll have to wait and see. All right, Tom Growcut writes, favorite depiction of God in film, does Thor count? Well, yeah, because he's a god, he's not God. My favorite, and this is before my time really, I saw it, well actually it's not before my time, it was in the early 90s I think, but I watched it after it was in theater. I didn't see it in theaters, but it was Oh God starring George Burns. I think they did a sequel to that movie too, if I'm not mistaken. Could be wrong about that. But George Burns playing God is the best ever. There will never be one that comes close. All due respect to Alanis Morissette, all due respect to Morgan Freeman, all that kind of stuff. Nothing will ever touch George Burns playing God. That was the best. So that's mine. Krypton Cage writes, when did Disney really put out a crap movie, A Wrinkle in Time? Well, I mean, yeah, they did put out A Wrinkle in Time. That was bad. I remember I said the other day, well, a few weeks ago, we were talking about something. I said, hey, come on. I mean, let's give Disney the benefit of the doubt. They've earned it, and they have. Because I said, when's the last time they really crapped the bed? And then I had a whole ton of people on Twitter write to me, John, you didn't like Wrinkle in Time. And I'm like, okay, yeah, there's Wrinkle in Time. But that's kind of the exception that proves the rule, right? Because film after film after film that they put out, it tends to be pretty good. But yeah, Wrinkle in Time was pretty damn bad. Wrinkle in Time was pretty damn... Nutcracker, pretty bad. Nutcracker in the Forum Realms, pretty bad. But it's not often. They don't often crap the bed. Let's see. The One Who Eats Lemons. Nice username. I like that. 2018 is such a great year for Spidey. Infinity War, Venom, Spiderverse, and a PS4 game. Yep, and I'm still... By the way, I got to do more playing chats. I haven't played my Spider-Man PS4 game since before Christmas. Been really busy. But this week, I'm going to start doing some more playing chats when I get around to that. So yeah, Venom doesn't really count because Spider-Man's not in it and has nothing to do with Spider-Man. So can't count Venom, but it's still, 2018 was a great Spider-Man year. Infinity War, Spider-Verse, and the video game. That's a killer year for Spider-Man, dude. That is a killer year for Spider-Man. Okay, let's see here. Where are we at? Cinema Reviews writes... The Avengers aren't supposed to be sad. They're always happy. Ryan, I mean the Russos, have ruined Star Wars. I mean the MCU. Oh, and my childhood. Yeah, look, I totally catch your vibe, Cinema, and I'm right there with you. Really interesting point to raise. Samuel Pole writes, Poppins is much more enjoyable if you pretend it's about a demon queen returning to feast upon her horde. Where'd that come? Mary Poppins, that was my one kind of bigger disappointments of the Christmas season movies that came out, because I was really looking forward to Mary Poppins. I was really looking forward to that film. It looked magnificent. We heard great things about it, and I watched it. It's like, okay, it's good. It's good. It's a good movie. I give it a thumbs up, sure. But I was expecting a legit Best Picture of the Year candidate, and it ain't. It's not that good. It's good, but it's not that good. And I was really tremendously disappointed by it. And I even thought for a long time that, look, I said for the longest time, Aquaman will win the weekend, the box office weekend that it comes out. But I thought, even though Aquaman will win the first weekend, Mary Poppins will have longer legs because the movie's going to be so amazing. It's going to have longer legs and eventually will overtake Aquaman. Well, then I saw Mary Poppins and I'm like, well, there goes that theory. Because it just simply isn't good enough to get people to go back multiple times. And sure enough, that's the way it played out. And Aquaman ended up being way more successful than I thought it was going to be. I always knew it would be successful, but I didn't think it was going to be that successful. So, yeah, there went that theory. Yeah, I was really disappointed with it, man. I was disappointed with it. Still good, but disappointed. All right. Samuel follows up. Need tears jerked? Watch Sandler's tribute to Chris Farley. Thoughts on Farley's short but impactful career? Look, I'm not one of these guys that I thought Chris Farley was one of the greatest comedians in the world. I never thought that, but I always appreciated him as a comedic talent. He was fearless. One of the funniest Saturday Night Live sketches of all time is the Chippendales audition sketch with him, Chris Farley, and Patrick Swayze. One of the greatest sketches ever in the history of Saturday Night Live, and one that really highlighted that Chris Farley was just flat out fearless as a performer. When it came to being a performer, no fear whatsoever. And that's really what I think of most when I think about Chris Farley as a performer. All right. Stubba McShave writes, Trading Places is my favorite Christmas movie. Again, a part of that movie happens at Christmas time, yes. Man, that's one I haven't watched in ages. Dan Aykroyd, Eddie Murphy, one of the better Eddie Murphy movies. Man, you just put that in my brain now. Now I got to scratch that itch. At some point in the next month or two, I'm going to have to watch Trading Places again because that movie's really good. Thanks for bringing it up, Stubble. All right. Goldie writes, people talk about films with great visuals, but a subpar story. Can you think of a film with a great script but bad cinematography? Oh, I don't know, Goldie. I would have to sit down and write out lists and go through a bunch of lists and try to... it's not something I can think of off the top of my head. Interesting question, but not something I can think of off the top of my head. Sebastian writes, buy A List before January 8th. That's today, ladies and gentlemen, January 8th. Buy A List before January 8th, 2019, so you've got a few hours left. Lock in for $19.95 a year. Yeah, so... $19.95 per month for a year. So you get one full year of A-List at $19.95. Because they are raising the price of A-List, totally reasonable that they are, to I think it's like $23 a month. Ooh, $23 a month still gets you 12 movies or 3 movies a week. Buy your tickets in advance, pre-select your seats, see any format you want, AMC Prime, IMAX, 3D, whatever. For $3 extra bucks, yeah. Look, I don't want to give AMC any ideas, but they could double the price. AMC could double the price of A-List, and it's still completely worth it. Like, like where I go to movies, it's $15 a ticket. If I just see 3 movies, that's $45 in tickets. Just 3 movies. I get to see 3 movies a week for a month. For whatever. So if I saw 10 movies, let's say I didn't even go see the full 12. If I saw 10 movies, that's $150 in tickets. Even if AMC charged me $40 for A-List, that's still a massive, I'm saving over $100 a month. That'll save me over $1,200 a year. It's a crazy good deal. So them going from $19.90 from $20 a month to $23 a month, I have no issue with that whatsoever. If that's going to help them make sure they keep A-List in functioning in a business by bumping up a couple bucks, go for it, because the service is well worth it. That's my opinion at any rate. All right. Raphael's creative style, like that name writes. That hammer bit at the end of the Men in Black International trailer, very good. And you know what? I'll be honest. The first time I saw the trailer, I didn't even catch it. Like I saw the hammer bit and I thought, oh, cool scene. And it wasn't until afterwards I'm going, yeah. Oh, wait a minute. That was a Thor reference. And then I go back and watch it again. You're right. It was really good. It was a great reference. I dug the trailer overall. I really did. Santez Henderson writes, Mary Poppins is not better than the original, but good. Well, it's nowhere near as good as the original, quite frankly. But yeah, good. Look, if somebody were to ask me, would you recommend that I go see Mary Poppins? I would say yes. Yeah, I recommend seeing it. It's enjoyable. It's a good little movie. It's just that my hopes and expectations for that movie were up here. Really high. And it was nowhere near that good. And so I ended up walked out disappointed, unfortunately. All right. Collins Anium writes, I respectfully disagree, John. I thought Mary Poppins Returns is overall better than the original. I think you're crazy, but that's the subjectivity of film. Is better than the original. Turning Turtle and A Cover Is Not the Book were great musical numbers. I don't know. The one musical number that was on par with the original Mary Poppins was Where the Lost Things Go. That musical number was something pretty damn special. And quite frankly, the best part of that movie. I adored Where the Lost Things Go. I thought that was just fantastic. I dug it so much. A Cover Is Not the Book is a nice musical number. I'll never watch it again. I'll never even think about it again. Turning Turtle, a couple of the other ones were kind of waste to me. But you know what? You loved it. And that's all that matters, man. As long as you loved it and it was special to you, that's awesome. I celebrate that. I disagree, but I celebrate that you had that experience with it because that's good. All right. Barth Revin writes, which should I see first, Bumblebee or Spider-Man? Well, as long as you watch them both, it doesn't matter what order you see. Me personally, I would say go see Spider-Man and the Spiderverse first. I think it's the better movie, but they're both winners. They're both winner movies. So pleasantly surprised by both of them. They're both thumbs up films. Just make sure you see them both. Make sure you see them both. ZCM Custom Maps writes, what are you more excited for, Destroyer or Vice? Well, I've seen them both already, obviously. But I will tell you, I was more looking forward to Vice. I prefer Destroyer. I like Vice. Vice is good, but I think Destroyer is really special. Nicole Kidman was all kinds of spectacular in that, and Christian Bale's really good in Vice. He's great in Vice. But I thought Destroyer had a little bit more oomph to it. But that's just my opinion, whatever. They're both good movies, though. Pardon me. Okay. The Incredible Hulk writes, Welcome to Marwin has a 23% on Rotten Tomatoes. Are you hearing that this movie is really bad? Yeah, I heard horrible things. And I also, by the way, I heard that 23% was generous. I heard 23% was generous. And again, I wanted to see that movie. I love Steve Carell. Let me just bring it up here on Rotten Tomatoes. Where did it go? There we are. Ooh, it actually went up. It went up from 23 to 29. So still sub 30%. Audiences didn't like it either. And because I love Steve Carell so much, and I had such high hopes for that movie, I just opted to take a pass. It would have hurt my heart to watch that movie and not like it. So I took a pass on, but yeah, I heard really bad things. I heard really, really bad things from people I know who went to go see it. It's like, John, this movie sucks. I'm like, okay, don't need to hear anymore. So yeah, it's really too bad. Cause if you guys remember, I was really excited about Welcome to Marwin. I thought it was a very unique looking movie. We hadn't really seen movies that look like that. I thought it was going to be really special. And so it kind of broke my heart to hear all the bad stuff about it. Click My Vid writes, no Star Wars movie this year. What movie are you taking your mom to? So what I did do, when I go home to Canada, it has become a tradition that every year that I go home, I take my mom and my family to go see the newest Star Wars film. But there was no new Star Wars film this year. So I ended up taking them to Aquaman. I took them out to see Aquaman. We had a good time. Not everybody in my family liked Aquaman. My mom didn't love Aquaman, but we had a very good time going. We had a great... it's a tradition I love. And we'll get back on the tradition of making that a Star Wars movie, obviously next year, or this coming December, I should say. All right. Pixar Fanification writes, as for Hamilton, it was filmed on stage with his original cast on Broadway. Okay, so somebody was asking a couple weeks ago about they heard a Hamilton movie got made. Why was it never released? There is talk of them producing a Hamilton movie in the future, but no Hamilton movie was shot. What some people then point out was, well, what they did do was they filmed the stage show. They just kind of filmed the stage show. That's not really making a movie per se. And they are going to make a proper Hamilton movie at some point. But yeah, they filmed it on stage with its original cast, which is cool. I mean, a lot of the big stage productions do that as well. But thanks for pointing that out, Pixarification. Jacob Ibarra writes, hey, John. So I'm pretty sure I'm the only one in the gym that does this, but I love working out to badass movie themes. Dude, no, you're not. You're not the only one. Zod's theme from Man of Steel, Bane's theme from The Dark Knight Returns, etc. Any you listen to throughout your day. I have absolutely listened. I've gone into the gym and put on Lord of the Rings soundtrack and pardon me, and others. And I know several people actually that go to the gym put on soundtracks as well, like actual theme soundtracks. Right now, I'm really into listening to the Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse soundtrack. Now, granted, that's a musical soundtrack. That's not the score of the movie. But every time I get in my car, I go, okay, Google. Well, that's my Google thing's going to turn on now. Play Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse soundtrack. And it plays it, and it's woo! And,
Spider-Man Into the Spiderverse Google Play Music.
Okay, so now my Google Home is going to start playing. Hold on a sec. Okay, Google, stop. Gotta be careful when I say that phrase. Yeah, I'm really into that one too. But yeah, don't feel bad, man. Don't feel awkward, Jacob. You are not alone. There are other people who love doing that stuff, and I think it's great. I think it's awesome. All right, where are we at now? Benjamin GL writes, over under 1%. My Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Wild script gets a movie. Keep up the awesome work. Well, I would ask you, do you have a real legitimate industry literary agent? If you do, I'll take the over 1%. If you don't, I will take the under 1%. Ramsey Hamdi writes, hey, John, I'd like to thank you for all the hard work you do. I appreciate it all. Wishing you a great holiday and a better 2019. Thank you so much, Ramsey. We're off to a great start already. I loved my holiday season. Got to spend it up in Canada with my family, and I don't get to see my family enough. And this year was a little bit of a scary year. My mom had a health scare this year. She's doing great now, though. And my mom and dad took us out to see the new cottage they just bought that's right on Lake Erie, which is just beautiful. It's great. And, you know, my New Year's resolution, and I made the same resolution last year, but I just never had a chance. I want to get home at least twice a year now. This going home once a year thing is for the birds. I got to start trying to get home twice a year because it's not enough time. You know, I got to go. But thank you, Ramsey. I appreciate that. And I wish all the best for you in 2019 as well. All right. IckHE writes, have you heard of Kimba the White Lion? Yeah, I have heard of that. Some people have been mentioning it. I don't really know much about it, and I don't think there's much to it. Derek Large writes, what if in Avengers 4 during Time Traveler, for whatever reason, Tony has to give the order for Bucky to kill his parents and then forgives him? No. Now you're just getting way too off book. You're going way too off book about that. So no, that's not even... You know, I always say never. Anything can happen. We've seen stranger things happen. For this, I will say no. That's not going to happen. Just get your mind off that. That you're going way off script on that. You're way overcomplicating it. No, that's not going to happen. Ramsey Hamdi writes, crazy question. In the first tease of Captain Marvel, there's a clip of Skrull standing at the beach. The first thing came to me. What if Skrull invaded Atlantis? Namor? Crazy, but if you may entertain... No. Again, why... It's going to be a standalone movie. And by the way, Namor is still off the table. Namor is still not something that the rights are still a little bit kind of tied up in some legal stuff. So Namor is not on the table right now. So no, that's not going to happen. Marie Seifring writes, the report said a live performance of Hamilton with Lin-Manuel Miranda has been taped. Yes, we've addressed that already. Hamzy Hamdi writes, I meant Namor as a hero, not him as a Skrull. No, I get that, but no. Why would you use the Captain Marvel movie to introduce Namor? And again, the rights to Namor are still kind of in limbo, so don't hold your breath. That's not going to happen. Mike McHale writes, I think Fox and Marvel could both make their own movies each year, and they could all exist in the MCU, so possibly 4 to 5 movies in the MCU. Thoughts? Nope, not going to happen. Again, they are being brought in. If it's in the MCU, Kevin Feige is going to have direct supervision over it. Kevin Feige can only make so many movies a year. Kevin Feige has direct supervisory control over every movie they do and everything they do in every movie. And there is only one Kevin Feige, and he's not about to dilute that, and he's not about to let other people make movies in his MCU that he doesn't have direct supervisory control over, and he can only do so much. So, no, I'm not expecting it. Would it be great? Sure, but I'm not expecting that at all. I just don't think that's going to happen. James Germain writes, Agent H&M so on the nose for Men in Black. I don't know what that means. So I don't know how to address that. Okay, Michael Jones writes, last question of the day, guys. Michael Jones writes, you talk about the power of movies. Mary Poppins was the first movie my parents took me to. Oh, that's awesome. I have lost both of my parents in the past 5 years. I was not prepared for how hard Mary Poppins Returns hit me. And then Michael Jones continues, when Emily Blunt first said, close your mouth, we are not a codfish, I teared up, and every time the second animation came on, I teared up. The 2D animation came up, I teared up. Yes, there were holes in the script, but I loved it. Dude, there is something about, and oh my God, I can only imagine how the musical number Where the Lost Things Go must have had a really great and profound impact on you as well. That is one of the beautiful things about movies, man. You know, it creates these moments. They create these memories. They create these shared experiences that we get to have with each other. You know, you got to see the first Mary Poppins with your mom and dad. So special. When I went to go see, one of the times I went to go see Avengers Infinity War, sitting right beside me and Ray was a dad with his little 10-year-old son, watching Infinity War together. That is a great shared experience that kid is going to remember for the rest of his life. And it's amazing that we can have those experiences. And then for you now later on as an older adult, you know, the next Mary Poppins comes out and you get to see it and it takes you back to that. That's awesome. That's awesome. And I am so happy for you that you got to have that experience. Not just the one with your parents, but the one you had now as a later adult that allowed you to revisit and think about and relive those memories. I think that's amazingly special and beautiful. So I'm really happy for you, man. That's awesome. And thank you for sharing those thoughts. That's really inspiring, to be honest with you. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the companion videos. Listen, I still have a whole bunch of companion videos that we need to do. I still got about 2 or 3 more that we need to do. A whole bunch of questions that we still have to get caught up on. I think we're now caught up on all of the backlogged ones pre-Christmas. So we got a bunch more to do. Those are going to be coming up in the next day or two. So anyway, guys, don't forget to join us on the John Campea YouTube channel for the John Campea Show. Me and Robert Meyer Burnett will be back for the next couple of mornings, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Make sure you come and talk all the greatest things in the world of movies and movie news with us. It's always a good time. That'll do it for me, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.